All right, guys, welcome back to episode 3 of the Zach and Pat Show. I'm Zach.
I'm Pat.
And so today we thought it would be a good idea to go over, our end of year, kind of recap our year and kind of go over how we think our year went. And there is a podcast I listen to called Modern Wisdom with Chris Williamson, and he just released this document here that just has a bunch of good questions to ask yourself. I just wanted to give him some credit because, it's a great podcast. If you haven't checked it out, it's one of my favorites. But this whole, document here, it's on his website. If you guys wanted to check it out, but it just kind of goes over all the stuff that you went over this or that you did this year. It's like an annual review. So we thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to kind of go over our years and how we think we did, what can we improve on. And,
Yeah, business planning's always been a big part of my end of year plan. I go through and look at what I did for the previous year and then set goals for the next year. And obviously we're always changing those goals, but those targets are always moving. And it's good that we adjust and look every so often so that to make sure we're maintaining where we're at. And this, you sent it over to me reading through, like, this is going to be the new planning that I use just because of some of the questions that are on here. And I mean, it really dives deep, not just in business, but personal growth and focusing on the areas that we need to work on. And because, like we've been saying on all of our podcasts, if we're not growing, we're dying. And we got to take those areas where we are weak and need improvement and work on those things. And this does a great job of bringing those out to, bring everything to the forefront. Focus. So
yeah, I like that it's not just all career stuff. It's relationships, it's health, it's personal growth. It's lots of stuff on here. So, I mean, it's a really long thing and we're probably not going to be able to get through the whole thing, but we kind of cherry picked some questions. And
you even asked what best sex of the year.
Yeah. Best sex of the year. Yeah. And then,
I am the best sex of the year.
When the IRS fucked me in the
ass. Yeah. Most intense week. That's a good one. Favorite artist, favorite song, favorite concert.
So yes, all sorts of really cool and good stuff on this. And, I've read through it and come up with some of the, things that I want to work on, and I'm going to really dive into it. But, that's one of the things we wanted to do is kind of do this live while we're on the podcast and to where, it's not going to be scripted. We're actually going through this, answering these questions while we're on here. Obviously we're looking at a few that we really liked and we want to touch on. But ultimately it looks like there's probably close to 50 questions, 60 questions on here.
Yeah.
And so, I'm looking forward to really diving into this more, and comparing it to my other business planning, that I've done in the past and see how it compares. Obviously there's being in the finance industry and it's more, there's a lot of numbers involved in that. But on the back end, like the mentality and that you need to do to get better, there's, I want to compare that to my old one, see how this one tracks. And I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, me too, man. Let's dive in. What question do we want to start with?
Well, let's see here. So, what habits or systems accounted for most of your success this year?
You want to go first?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I have daily non-negotiables. So every day in my business, there's different things that we focus on. So, like the main focus on Monday is to call as many real estate agents as I can and set appointments. Now, the goal is to try and get to 3 appointments a week. Like we mentioned in the first episode, people tend to cancel last minute and it happens. So I want to make sure that I have other meetings set up. So I'm not going a week without meetings. So Mondays are spent dialing for those meetings. I allocate the time throughout the day to make those calls. I mean, we've done those power hours in the past, very similar to that. It's just extended a little bit longer. And then, I leave time towards the end of the day for returning phone calls and things like that. Tuesdays, every Tuesday I call with updates, whether you're the buyer's agent or listing agent, I'm going to call you with an update. Like that's a non-negotiable. Actually, that's says most successful. That's my most successful way of getting meetings.
Oh, bro, that's literally why we started working
Right.
together.
Exactly. Like it's so weird that nobody does it.
Oh, I know.
And it's so easy. It's nobody likes cold calling, and this isn't cold calling.
Oh.
How much more of a warmed up call could it be? Like, hey, this is Pat Doyle with Guild Mortgage. I am representing the buyer on the property you have listed. I just wanted to call and introduce myself and say, hey, I'm here if you have any questions. I'm going to touch base with you every week, just giving you updates. Obviously, there's certain things I can and can't tell you, but I'm going to let you know if things are going smoothly or if there is a problem, how we're solving it and where we're going from there. But other than that, I mean, it's incredible that nobody else is doing this, and all the reactions are like, wait, what? Why are you calling me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just explained, like, I want everybody to be on the same page so this closing goes smoothly. And they're like, oh my God, I had this happen before. So that's been my most successful thing in terms of how I do my daily non-negotiables. Wednesdays, we got the podcast that we're recording. And then it's usually when I touch base with past clients just to see how things are going. It's birthday calls, anniversary calls, setting up your online account for your first payment, different things like that. And then Thursdays and Fridays, Thursdays are for my people that aren't fully pre-approved, pre-qualified. I still need some documents for them. So, hey, just wanted to see how things are going with the docs that we need. Any questions on that stuff so we can get you rocking and rolling if you're ready to offer if something comes up this weekend. Fridays are, hey, send me those addresses that you want. Let me run numbers for you. Let me get those out to you. So like my daily non-negotiables and establishing what those non-negotiables are and making sure those get done is what has helped me in a market where real estate is down, loan officers are struggling, that my business increased. It's doing the things that nobody else wants to do, putting in the hard work and that effort. And of course, is there days like some Tuesdays I'm making 40, 50 phone calls. You think I want to make 40? Fuck no.
Oh,
No, like that's the last thing I want to do is sit there and call 40 or 50 people. But it's, doing the things when you don't want to do them is what's going to push you further than most, because people just give up at that point. Oh shit, I got to make 50 calls, or I have to make 50 calls. I look at it as I get to make 50 phone calls today.
right.
Like
And man, just getting started on that list too has everything. Like you make those first like 3 or 4, and then like you just kind of get into a groove and you just start rolling. But like for me at least, making the first one is always the hardest, and then after that it just kind of rolls through.
It's like, what do they say? The hardest part about going to the gym or is working out is going to the gym. Getting there, because once you're there, you're there.
Yeah, once you start making those calls, you're just like, that one didn't answer. All right, well, on to the next.
I have a walk-up song that I turn on like to get myself, like same thing on Mondays too, because like here's the thing, as a loan officer, like our job is to call on real estate agents. That's you guys,
for sure.
You guys are out there drumming up business, and I want to be their preferred lender.
Right.
So I have to develop relationships with agents. So it's a lot of calling.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of no's.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, I appreciate the phone call, but no. But it's I got to pump myself up. Getting told no,
for sure.
All these, it's tough. You got to be able to be like, all right, but one no is closer to, and business is closer to a yes.
Right.
And so I'll sit there and my walk up song and besides my freshman year when seniors picked my walk up song, but
is that like the hazing? They got to pick your walk up song. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So mine was Night at the Roxbury.
Okay. That's great.
What is love?
Yeah.
What is love? Yeah. So, but other than that, my walk up song was always Better Than You by Metallica.
Okay.
Just that guitar intro and the way it's like, oh my gosh, pumps me up every single time. Oh, shit, I'm getting pumped up. Just thinking about it.
You sweaty over there?
Yeah.
Am I getting? Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying.
Wear a
It's
gray
like
shirt.
I'm starting to sweat through my gray shirt here. But no. So yeah, I play that song to get me going to make those calls, because it's not. I mean, it's not. It can be. It's just being told no sucks.
Yeah.
But you got to keep going. You're not going to grow. You're not going to get better, and you're not going to learn. Like first call is going to be terrible. So it's like like pull the list of agents and like, all right, it's okay if I fuck up this phone call.
Yeah. let's get a warm up.
Let's get the warm up phone call in and go from there. So, So agents, if you get a call on Monday and it's a really bad call, just know
maybe you were the first one.
You were my first phone call. It gets better. I'll move you down the list for later. But yeah, so I mean, it's doing the things that get you in the mindset to do what you don't want to do. And I think that's what has been the most successful thing for me is that mindset. And then, but coming up with those daily non-negotiables, not just for business, but personal, like making my bed every morning, brushing my teeth, getting ready, all that stuff before I even look at my phone. When I have the kids, making sure everything's laid out the night before, getting kids ready,
setting yourself up for success is what we call it in our house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because and here's the thing is, it's not like, I just lay out one. Like I've got like 2 or 3 backup options, because it's always the first one I throw out there is never, I'm going to wear that one, Dad.
Right.
Like, no, I want
this. Oh man, he's not even at the age. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. He's not at the age yet where he'll tell me like, that's not what I want to wear.
Yeah. Wait till you get to that point. So it's just, like you said, setting yourself up for success and preparing. And that's just what this is doing. And that's why I like it. Cause now I can sit back and be like, all right, here are the non-negotiables that I have. Can I add to it? Should I take it away and change it for something else? And so that's what's been systems and habits that I've formed that have been the most successful for me. How about you? What about you for?
Well, some of my habits and systems for this past year that I think one of the reasons I had a good year that I did is really teaming up with Murph here and really diving into my social media.
Retweet.
Yeah,
it's been awesome.
Yeah, we've been. Yeah, me and Murph have been.
Are they called tweets anymore?
Yeah, they're X's, or what do they call them?
I don't know. He's chief twit, and you know what? Elon 2028. I'm here for it.
Yeah. But yeah, so Murph, the guy who's producing our podcast here, he doesn't have a camera on him yet, but he will at some point. But him and I started working together this past February, and that changed my social media game significantly. I think previously I was doing all my own like talking head content, all my own. I was doing a lot of some fitness content, some kind of funny reels, kind of all sorts of shit. But then once I started working with him, making professional looking videos, and posting even more consistently than I was, because we were doing 5 a week. The stuff that we're doing now it's gone up exponentially compared to where we were. Both my skill on the camera, which is something that you don't really think about until you start doing it, but like being able to talk to the camera and not say a lot of ums and you knows.
I'm keeping a tally over here.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're at 4.
Fuck. God damn it.
That's 4 shots, people that are
playing
the Zach
game.
and Pat drinking game.
But that's been a great aspect of my business that's gone up significantly. I've been really, really consistent with it. And my real estate coach, when I first got started, or he told me this a few years ago, you got to think of yourself as a marketing company that sells real estate, because you have to market yourself, especially when you're an agent. You have to do something that makes you separate yourself from the competition. And everybody's on their phones all the time now, and so that's kind of what I went all in on this year, financially and a lot of my time and effort, meeting up with Murph a couple times a week, and that's been a lot, but I think it's worth every penny and every hour we spend on it, because I had a best year of my career yet. So yeah, I think that's the best system. And I think one other thing I've really dialed in on this year that I wasn't so good at. I've always been doing it, but I think this year I've definitely taken it to a whole new level, is time blocking my days and really planning out my days.
I've talked about that.
Yeah,
a lot.
It's a hard. It's one thing to make the schedule, but to stick to it is a whole nother thing, because it's everything that you said. But like, you can make those daily non-negotiables all day, but actually sticking to them is that's the hard part. Right, that's actually consistently. All right, every Monday I'm doing this. Every Tuesday I'm doing this. Every Wednesday I'm doing this.
Yep, they're there when obviously our schedules change. We don't know when closing times are going to be set up. We don't know. Timelines can change, things like that can constantly change, and that are out of our control. And so it's like every night before I go to bed, I take a look at what I have going on the next day, and I rearrange my schedule, so I know that those are getting in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one other non-negotiable, like personal, is like getting to the gym. So like working out is great. Obviously the physical results that come from it, but for me, like working out and training is all mental. Like the mental clarity and everything that I get from working out, especially working out with intent. Like that's the big thing. Like I can just go through the motions and leave and still feel like shit. But like I try and get in there with as much intent as I can, and I come out so much stronger. But if I got a closing at 9 a.m., then that's how am I going to readjust that schedule? So, because now my workout's going to get pushed. or it's gonna have to get up earlier, or now, hey, you know what? I had a team meeting called during the time that I was gonna do my um uh calls or my non-negotiables. Well, all right, now I need to adjust my non-negotiables to be at a different time frame, or I'm part here, part there. But it's all about that time block, and so important. But it takes a long. I mean, shoot, we're gonna jump into what do we need to work on next, and like I still need to work on that. I've been doing time blocking now for 5 or 6 years, and it's still one of those things that you are always.
Mhm.
I don't think you're ever going to get perfect
No.
at time blocking, because things are always going to come up and change that. But you can get pretty good at sticking to it. Time blocking is this thing,
Oh, it makes me so relax. It like honestly relaxes me sometimes
right?
because like I feel like I've always got so many different things that I actually like have that I have on my schedule, but I don't. It's something about physically seeing like, okay, all right, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is what I'm doing. I've got every single
Right.
to the hour pretty much planned out, and
Yeah.
it just like makes me feel at ease a lot of times.
Right. Well, and it's the discipline that goes along with it.
Mhm.
Like Jocko Willink spoke, discipline equals freedom. It's so true.
Yeah.
If you've got the discipline to maintain that schedule, you're gonna feel just so much more at ease and have the freedom to do what you need to do. It's great. Well, it just kind of ties into it. What habits do you want to work on?
Yeah. What habits? I mean, it's funny that I just said time blocking, but it's like I
Right.
definitely need to improve on that because, like you said, there are days where I definitely am. I go off the schedule, or I have someone that wants to see a house or wants to. I get an opportunity. The seller wants me to come over and check it out,
Right.
or randomly, I just get random calls from people, and a lot of times I have to go do it right then and there because the opportunity is presenting itself.
Right.
So sometimes I do have to go off the schedule, but that's something I could work on for sure. Um, One thing that relationship wise would be scheduling. I think scheduling like more like date nights with
Right.
Gina. I think that would be something I definitely could get better at. Um, it's just hard when you got the baby now and you got another one on the way, and some days she's not feeling good. Like there'll be days like recently we were planning on going we were going out to eat. No, I bought these nice steaks and we were gonna cook steak, and that was kind of the game plan all day. And then finally when we get Calvin down and she's just like, I don't feel good at all. I just want to eat like some crackers and cheese and go to bed. I was like, okay, cool. All right, I'll figure something else out. I'll make a sandwich.
Right.
But things don't always go as planned. But just planning date nights with her would be something I think I could definitely get better at. Just making time for her, and yeah, that would be the biggest thing.
As someone from a failed marriage, that was part of our problem. Is my ex-wife is in the real estate business as well. Me being like, our schedules are crazy. We get, it's easy to get wrapped up in this business and just go, 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 go. Especially if you're passionate about it, like you and I are. She is, and you forget those things. Like obviously, we were great co-parents, but yeah, that's definitely need to take time and get those dates in and spend that quality time together. Or you know, that's where we felt we didn't give each other that quality time.
Yeah.
It was like our quality time we had was talking about real estate. Like,
Yeah.
let's not
Yeah.
let's figure out something else here. And
Sure.
but no, that's awesome that you guys schedule those dates.
Yeah,
Do
we
it.
went on a
And
little day date today. It
there you
was
go.
today's our this is our dating anniversary. Like when we kind of
Happy anniversary.
yeah. So we just went out to lunch right before this. Took Calvin to the aquarium, had a nice little family day, and then dropped him off, and then we went out to eat. So nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
How's the aquarium?
good.
Was your first time there, or did you get
No,
on
we
before?
got the season pass. We're
Oh,
freaking
there.
flyers. We it's fun. He loves it. As because we've had it this whole year, and I mean he's obviously grown a lot in the last year. I mean, starting out at
Right.
the beginning of this year, he couldn't even walk yet. Now he's running around and talking, so it's fun because he can actually
Right.
do a lot more. He's into it a lot more than he was in the past. He's actually tall enough to reach a lot of the little interactive kids stuff. So it's
Right.
fun.
And at that age too, I just remember it's like we could have done the same thing over and over again. But like every time you go is a brand new experience for
sure.
them. And it's like, oh my God, they've never been. They find something new
Right.
every single time. And it's kids.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
They're awesome. Yeah,
So
it was fun. It's been a good day. So can't complain. Fine.
But yeah, I'm on the same boat with you with the time blocking and things to work on. Obviously, like I said, I don't think you're ever going to get become an expert in time blocking. Schedules, it's tough. But also, you know, there's like I said, I do a lot of calls on Monday to agents. I want to start mixing in the time, like, yeah, add those to my non-negotiables on every day. Like, you know what? Mondays where I'm really hammering them, 20, 30 phone calls on Mondays to agents. But all right, I'm gonna do that. And then if I just added what would happen to my business if I added an extra 5 phone calls a day,
Right.
so that's something that I want to add to the non-negotiable list, like just another thing just to help grow business.
Yeah.
And then personally, you know, that's the one thing I was really proud of this year was the way our schedule works with the boys is every other weekend and then like every 2 days. So, the most I don't have them is for like 2.5 days. And so when I do have them, like I make sure that I'm off when I have to pick them off from daycare and I've got nothing that I can just spend time with them. Then when I don't have them, that's when I put a little bit more time into to work, make up those time that I took off when I don't have them. So that was something I was really happy with and proud of for this year. But, you know, one thing that I want to do moving forward with them and it's tough being a single dad without you know, someone that I'm dating or a partner or anything like that. Like I want to do solo days with my boys. They're at that age now where it's like, we've been doing everything together for so long and my ex-wife and her boyfriend get to do these with the boys because they'll split them up. My ex-wife will have a Connor day and that's when Dalton will have the Oliver day and then
Got it.
they'll flip flop. So, it's and I don't want to leave them with a babysitter,
Right.
but it's almost like, all right, when I have them, set up a Connor day and then Oliver will go spend time with mom and vice and flip flop.
Got it.
And so I want to start doing more of that, just to have that one-on-one relationship because they are both so different. And it's Oliver is exactly like me. He's like my mini me, stubborn and hard headed, and just he's like a lone wolf. Like
Mhm.
he just kind of does his own thing. Connor, on the other hand,
Well, Oliver looks just like you too, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then Connor looks exactly like my ex-wife, and he's very similar in terms of his personality. And he's the entertainer. Like you put him in a room and
Oh, for
everyone
sure.
he's going to be in the center of attention in that room. People are going to flock to him. It's just his personality. And so, I want to be able to do those different things. That's my biggest thing personally that I want to work on is developing that habit where we're every other week going to take a day where it's just me and Connor and then where it's just me and Oliver. Have those single dates because when you get the two together, they're wild animals,
Yeah.
and it's hard to it's hard to go places with them sometimes.
For
Like
sure.
unless we're going to a trampoline park or the playground, things like that, where it's okay for them to
I'm
be
gonna go
wild
be
and crazy.
wild.
But
Yeah.
like, yeah, I want to take them to I took them to a soccer game this year, and the whole time I'm like freaking out because we're in a big crowd and it was me and I'm like,
Yeah. You got
man,
two, one each.
yeah, and
It's
it's
like,
right. And it's like, it's panic inducing. I didn't get to enjoy it. I don't know if I mean, I know they enjoyed it. They loved it, but it's something that I think would be easier being able to focus on one kid at a time and have it be intentional. I guess really that's what my biggest thing is to start being more intentional with the things that I'm doing. Next, what are the most valuable ways that you are spending your time? I know you touched back on, it kind of ties into our time
yeah.
blocking thing we're talking
It
about
does.
the video content that you guys are doing, which is awesome.
Right.
Hear agents talking about, well, and officer, we got to do video, we got to do
Right.
video. They just put the generic same stuff everybody else is.
Right.
Yours is great. Not only are you touching on real estate, but you got your personal stuff in
Mhm.
there with the jujitsu, and
Right.
it's awesome.
Fitness and
Yeah.
all those sorts of stuff. So yeah, that's yeah, no, that's been time blocking like you said, and doing the videos with Murph. Um, spending time with Calvin,
Right.
just spending time with Calvin, I would say is a big part of or something that I think is one of the most valuable things I'm doing. I definitely think I could do more of that. I think I could be off my phone less. Yeah, but I think the times that I am with him, I am usually pretty dialed in.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard.
Tough.
Like you said, we got days where we're we got calls that we have to make, or people are calling us. Like, I mean, I just heard my phone just going off just now. I forgot to do not disturb it. But yeah, it's hard sometimes.
Yeah. And for me, yeah, like I said, I mentioned spending time with my boys one on one. That's what's gonna
Hmm.
for me. That's great. But also getting back, for a while there, I was consistently working out 3 or 4 times a week. And not gonna make excuses. I got away from it. Just lazy, whatever you want to call it. But got away from it, and I want to get back into the 3 to 4 times a week, being intentional with those workouts. And because for me, when I am working out and it's intentional, my mind super clear, problem solving skills, all the different things that come along with getting that mental workout in is great for business as well as handling.
Yeah,
So
it's just a stress reliever, man.
right,
That's what I feel whenever I go into the gym. It's just
right,
I always leave there and I'm like,
yeah,
like I feel like a weight is lifted off of me for sure.
right,
You just feel like this at ease, especially after like a hard grappling session or something. It always makes life seem a lot easier. That's another thing I like about jujitsu is you're doing this really difficult. I mean, what's much harder than having a grown man on
right,
top of you trying to strangle you?
right.
Then it makes like other bullshit in your life seem like not as important or not as big of a deal.
Right.
It just makes it feel. Where am I at? I just said it like 3 times there. But anyway,
If you're sub 50, I will consider it a win.
all right, we'll see. I think I'm doing all right.
The number is going to be dropping every episode.
That's
Next
it.
episode is going to be like 40.
Really, you counted?
Oh, bro. No, just keep doing what you're doing.
All right, sorry. I just saw him marking a tally down. I'm like, fuck.
We call that negative response therapy.
What are some things that you thought you were gonna complete this year, but you didn't?
Oh, yeah, that's an easy one. I wanted to sell 50 houses or have 50 closings. I ended up with 46. So it's still a good year,
Right.
but it's 4 short. I have several listings right now that are still active that just haven't sold. The market really shifted over the last couple months, as we've seen with the way interest rates were. I think
Right.
that has a lot to do with it. That this time of year, so I have 6 on the market right now that just didn't sell, and if 4 of those would have sold, that would have made me hit it. But
Right.
hey, it is what it is. It's still a pretty good year. Still my best
hell
year
yeah.
that I've ever had. So can't complain too much. Just means I got to do better next year.
And what was one of the biggest things you've learned this year?
Reinvesting in my business.
Yeah.
I would say, that there's that whole you got to spend money to make money, and I think that's really true.
Absolutely.
You can't just do this. You can get by with a lot of stuff for a while, at least when you're first getting started, and kind of do things the cheap way or kind of do
Right.
things yourself. But and allocating my time, we've got so much. We've only got so much time in the day.
Right.
And you got to figure out the things that you're good at and the things that you do the best.
Right.
And I've definitely hired a lot of that out this year. I mean, I've not cut, I started hiring a lawn care service because I don't have time to cut my grass anymore, and I just don't like to. And I was already had someone cutting the grass at the rental property, so I was like, might as well do my house too. That's worth every penny, just because I've only got so much time every week, and a lot of my weekends I'm out showing houses, or
Right.
yeah, sure I could do it, during the days because I've got a flexible schedule. But man, there's just times that I don't want to,
Right.
And
Did you guys hear that? Sometimes dads don't like cutting grass. I know that's a thing for
Right.
most dads, but
not this one. I don't like cutting my own grass. So that's something. Well, a lot of stuff like that though. That in the past where I was like, oh, I can do that. I can fix that. I can do this. Give me the time. I just need to find some time. And
right.
that's the hard part is finding the time these
Right.
days. So I've started hiring a lot of stuff out. So I think that's another thing. What about you?
Touched on this a little bit in the first podcast, but patience. It that's a constant, ongoing thing, especially as your kids grow and they get older and their personalities and these attitudes develop. They test it. They know what buttons to push. Hell, I was that kid that pushed buttons. You can ask my parents. But yeah, and learning that patience. But the biggest thing that I learned this year was really effective communication. In a rising interest rate market where there's little homes, so you're dealing with higher monthly payments because of the rates, plus you're in a market where you're having to pay over asking to get a home. how to effectively communicate with people. You know, it may not seem like it, but this might be better buying now than it would have been buying in 2021 when rates were super low. Obviously, those people in 2021 are loving it now because their homes have appreciated, but you know, the market isn't as competitive now as it was and where it will be when rates start coming back down. Because they say 5 million people enter the market. Obviously, this is nationally, not locally, but 5 million people enter the market for every 1% that rates drop. So,
It's a wild stat.
yeah, I saw that on, it was like Housing Market, something like that.
It makes complete sense,
But
though.
yeah,
We're seeing interest rate move in that direction right now. I
Right.
mean, we've got our buyer that
Yeah.
he's like a whole percent lower
Right.
than when did
From
you
when we-
originally quote him?
this
That
was end of October.
Yeah.
It's a little bit longer. There's a little bit longer close because of the work being done on
Right.
the place. But yeah, when we started this, it was high sevens, and now it's high sixes. Like
Right. It's crazy.
it's
A
nuts,
whole percent.
right? And
That's
in
significant.
a month and a half, 2 months. So yeah, it's been pretty crazy to see the drop and where it's going to be heading. I mean, I don't ever see 2 or 3% again.
No, hell
But
no.
yeah, but it's been cool to see the trajectory of it, and this is kind of something that I've kind of been talking. That I'm a nerd when it comes to the market and tracking stuff, and there's a lot of people that are way smarter than I am that I listen to and talk to, and just kind of go and do my own research based on what they're talking about and seeing these trends, seeing the things, and being able to see that two major factors into interest rates are inflation and employment data. As inflation rises, interest rates will rise. When inflation drops, rates will drop. But at the same time, you have to have that second component, which is the employment data. So when unemployment is at its lowest, interest rates are going to go up.
Mhm.
Starts going up, interest rates are going to drop. They work of each other. You start seeing more people filing for jobless claims, like or unemployment. That's going to cause interest rates to drop. Those are things negative on the economy is going to cause rates to drop. It's like it's one of those things like, hey, do you want your friend to work or do you want a lower interest rate on your house?
Right.
Like, that's how good
Pick one.
how good of friends are you?
Right.
We're shopping at Aldi's, bro.
Right. So, it's kind of it's what it is. It's that trade-off, like I'm not a big fan of the Fed. That one group of people has so much control over what our economy does. That's not right. But they are the people that are in control of this, and they make mistakes, sure. Make some good plays, absolutely. No one's ever going to be perfect, but yeah, they've done a good job of that. So, kind of got off target.
I was like,
there,
I don't even remember what our original
I don't
question was.
either. Well, what did we expect to complete
Oh,
this year? But yeah, my goal was to do 100 and missed it by 15 deals. So it's a little on our side. It's a little bit different.
sure. A lot less physical running around
Right.
than I have to do. That's for
Exactly.
sure. Like, whereas that's where I would say our job's different
for
mostly.
sure.
Is where I'm out in the field, going on appointments, showing houses, meeting with sellers, meeting with investors, meeting with all these people. Whereas most of your marketing or your approaches is connecting with agents
Yeah.
and making those relationships with agents. Because most of the time, if you're going to buy a house, typically reach out to a realtor before you reach out to
Right.
a loan officer, unless you've done this quite a few times, then kind of know the ropes at that point. But usually, people's first move is to come to the real estate agent and
Right.
hey, I want to buy a house, and a lot of times they think that I'm the one that does all the financing too, and I'm like, no, I've got people for that.
Right.
So that's what Pat, when Pat's saying he makes all these phone calls to agents every day, he's doing it to kind of create relationships so that they basically pass their client off to him, because I mean, usually unless you're buying the house cash, you need someone like Pat. So
Right.
that's kind of how the sausage is made in our industry.
Yeah. So, and it takes, as a lender, we're not making as much money as an agent is per deal. So we need to close more business.
Mhm.
But it also, for us, it's easier to manage more business,
Mhm.
especially when team that I have. I've got 3 rock stars behind the scenes that allow me to do things like this and allow me to go out on those meetings every week, because I know that, hey, once I get it turned over to them, I don't have to worry about anything. They're going to be able to solve any problems that come up. And so for us, I mean, closing as a team 30 deals a month is a big deal. I don't.
It'd be wild.
What would
if I
be
did 30 a month.
right? What would you feel like? What would be the most that you'd be able to handle by yourself? I mean, you're doing 4 a month right
Yeah,
now.
I'm averaging 4 a month.
Right.
You know, I've had months where I've closed, you know, obviously more than that, and I've had months where I've closed less than that. But if I'm getting around that 6 to 8 range, I am hustling.
Right.
But here's the thing: is if I'm most of my work or the work that I do is done prior to us going under contract.
Right.
If it's a buyer, it's me out showing them houses. If it's a seller, it's me getting the house sold to a buyer. And then from then on, pretty much everything can mostly be done remotely other than final walkthrough and inspections. You know, I don't always need to be there, present for inspections. I usually like to just stop by at the end and kind of get the cliff notes because it doesn't make much sense for me to sit there and follow an inspector around for 3 hours.
Right.
But, you know, if I can show up, you know, at the last tail end of it, all right, show me what's fucked up.
Right.
What do we need to, what needs to be fixed? Where are we at? That's usually when I show up. So I don't need to be, once we're under contract, that's where I kind of actually pass it off to my team. You know, I've got a transaction coordinator and a VA that help do a lot of my back end stuff.
Right. But then you're off running with the next
But then
one.
I'm off running with the next one. So it's always, I'm constantly,
Right.
you know, I've always got one little tip or one, you know, kind of thing that I do with my business is I always want to have 20 people like that are wanting to do something in the next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, whether I'm actively out looking at houses with them now, or if they're like coming up. And I know that maybe they told me they wanted to sell in the spring and I've got them on my board. That was like a Ricky Caruth thing that he said when I first got started. And that's just kind of stuck with me. So I've always got my list on my little dashboard that I'm always following up with these people and making sure nobody gets forgotten about and stuff like that. So yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people on both sides that people aren't seeing. And it really, it's two completely different sides of the transaction where a lot of your stuff is a lot of emotions. And there's some emotions tied to us, and the good loan officers bring that emotion out. But for us, it's black and white. Like, hey, you've got guidelines. You either follow or fit those guidelines or you don't. So, I mean, there's some area there for guidelines are up for interpretation. And if you're willing to, defend your interpretation of it and get someone to understand it, then okay, we're going to move forward. But, the emotion side of it.
Yeah. When they
your
walk
favorite
into that
people
house,
are clients' parents, right? Like those.
yeah, it's the people that want to, that we have to go back for a second or third look with the parents and
on Thanksgiving.
On Thanksgiving.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, but no, that's a buyer could be completely in love with the house, and then all of a sudden, mom or dad comes over, or the uncle that bought a house a decade ago wants to come over and tell you,
Right.
What's wrong with it, or or what's a big deal and what's not, and I always try to give my opinion on things because I like to think I've seen a lot at this point, but
Right.
people usually take their
Family
members' advice over mine, so. That's something that's difficult sometimes, but it's just part of it.
Right.
It is what it is.
And
I
that's
can't.
like on ours is my favorites, the people that bought prior to the crisis,
Right.
08 crisis. Well, I didn't have to give you that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You also didn't have to verify that you actually made the money that you made to pay for the house that you're paying for. You could just say you made it. We're going to trust you. We trusted you at that point. There's a big change now. We have to document all sorts of stuff and
it's so wild to me that you could just like that concept that people would loan you hundreds of thousands of dollars just basically on saying that, hey, I make $1 million a year.
Yeah. I think at the time all you had to do was produce like one tax return showing. Yeah. But like I remember, so my mom had been in this business. She retired after 47 years and she remembers tell stories of loan officers that would keep like blank 1040 forms, tax forms in their desk. And somebody would call in to do a mortgage, they'd be like, all right, well, what's your income? And they'd pull out instead of pulling out of an application form, they're pulling out a blank 1040. Well, how much house did you say you wanted to buy?
Yeah. And
you've got this much in debt. Okay. So you make about $120,000 a year this year, right? Well, I made 100. No, you made 120 this year. Okay. We're gonna put this on there. I'm gonna have something for you to sign when you get here. This is what's gonna help us get you into that house that you want.
Oh, by the way, are you okay with an adjustable rate?
Oh yeah, by the 1 year arm that's gonna adjust by 3-4% every year upwards.
Right. And people
Yeah.
wonder, it's hilarious to me that people think that, at least these past couple of years, everybody's
Yeah.
been saying that there's going to be a
Oh
crash.
yeah.
And it's like,
No, it's
that's the reason.
Right.
Everything that he just said was the
There-
reason of the big
right.
crash
The
of
cra-
08.
We crashed because there were no lending laws. If you could breathe, you could get a house. If you were of age, which you need to be 18 to purchase a house, you have to be a legal adult to purchase a house. If you had a pulse, they would figure out a way to get you into a house, whether it was legal or illegal. They would pretty much figure out a way to get it done.
Right.
And here's the thing too, is like, it's great. Like I was not in there during this time, so this is not anything that I know of the businesses from what I've heard from firsthand accounts. And like you could call an appraiser at that time and say, "Hey, you know what? They offer this house was listed at 350,000, but they offered 500,000 for it. We want to make it appraised," and they go out and they do it. There was no checks and balances. Well, that's why now, and a lot of people don't know this. So every appraisal ever done gets submitted to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and logged in their database, and they will keep a list. They have every appraisal ever done since the beginning of 2008. This is when all this started, so they know what the value of your home is. And this is how we're able, like when there's times where if you put 20% down or more on a house, there's times where Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will come back and be like, "Nah, we don't need an appraisal on this because the price that they're buying for is based on all the information that we have, we feel is an acceptable value and falls within a safe range." So when we have a conventional loan, it doesn't, and this is why we don't have as many issues on FHA and VA like we used to. But conventional now, every time we get this appraisal, we submit it up to them and it spits back a score of 1 to 5. 1 being the most accurate, 2 going up, and 5 being highly overvalued or just very inaccurate. And what we have to do, anything that's like a 3.5 or above, we have to submit to this third party to do what's called a CDA, where they go in and do a full review of this appraisal. They talk to the appraiser and they go like deep dive into this, and it takes like 10 days for them to go through and knock this thing out to make sure that, okay, you know what, even though this is a 5, we're willing to give the warrants that are needed for this to be an acceptable appraisal for it to be purchased down the road. And so, and now luckily, like I've 2021, we saw a lot of this.
Yeah.
Because people were they were trying to get as much for it. Like this year, we haven't seen anything crazy like that. Everything's been like a 1 or a 2. And so it's been nice, but they have all these appraisals. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, based on their AI and this database that they have, they know what the value of every home is, and like in a range. And so if you're buying a house that fits within that range and that you're putting the required down payment down, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, we don't need an appraisal. You're good."
Right. We've had
Yeah,
a couple
we've had a
deals like
couple,
that
yeah.
where we got an appraisal waiver this
Yep,
time. Yeah.
yep,
Is that
yep,
what happens?
yep.
Okay.
We ran it through the database, and they're like, "Yep, no, you're good.
Great.
This value is perfect. You're not overpaying. You're not underpaying." Because that's another thing, is they don't want you to underpay too. That could cause,
Right.
you could hurt the values of everything
Yeah.
else around it.
But you want
You
to
know,
go into a house upside down.
they want you to pay fair market value, and that's it. Obviously it's a market, so you can pay whatever you want for it depending on what the market's doing. It's just something that people don't know about. But
No, I mean,
that-
well, I didn't.
that
I
right-
think you've mentioned to me
that
before.
right-
But other than that,
that right there alone is putting a check and balance on what was happening back in 08. Not to mention just how strict lending laws got. Like, I mean, we have to verify everything. It's like, hey, give me your blood and I want the naming rights on your firstborn child.
right?
Is
Yeah,
how it's
it's-
gotten to in some situations, So, and you see it like there, you can kind of get an idea of the economy and how it's moving is, when we start tightening up on our underwriting, that means like, hey, we're probably heading into a tough time. And now everybody's like, oh, it's going to crash, values are too high. But
No, we have
real
we have
estate's
an inventory problem.
yeah, it's
not gonna
basic
crash 'cause-
basic economics, supply and demand.
Right. Supply goes up, demand goes down, or
Demand's really high,
Yeah,
supply
demand,
is
supply.
really low.
Right.
And so and I think we're like 5 years behind on inventory or
I think
something
so,
like that.
something like that. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, as long as we're low on supply and people are demanding on houses, values are going to continue to go up. Now,
Right.
something going to happen? I mean, yes, we can't have homes continue to skyrocket like this, but
Right.
I don't think it's gonna crash. I think it's just gonna flatten
I
out.
think it's just gonna kind of level
Yeah,
out,
it's gonna
really.
level out for a few years. You might not
Right.
see the
Like we've been
appreciation or
seeing this
growth.
crazy,
Right.
10+% appreciation over
Yeah,
the
well, I
last
think
couple of years. It's like 13%.
Google and look it up with like we're like a 24-month straight home
Right.
appreciation,
Something like that.
something crazy.
Yeah, it's typically, at least in St. Louis, it's been pretty standard, like
Yeah.
3% per
Yeah,
year.
3 to 4%. And I think this year we were up to like 6 or 7. We were one of the few areas that still had really
Continuing,
good,
yeah.
still good growth. I
Yeah,
mean,
because when I talked to Alex out in California, it sounds like things were definitely going in the opposite direction.
right. And usually things happen on the coast, but again, with where we're at, things are still so affordable here.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
people, I think I did a video on it and posted it to my Instagram page where, you know, everybody talks about how unaffordable homes are, but when you look at national averages, absolutely.
Yeah.
They say national average income's $5,600 or $56,000 a year, with the average home price being $450. Fuck yeah,
Right.
you're not going to
Yeah,
afford.
that doesn't make
You're not
sense, right?
affording a $450,000 house on a
Right.
$56,000 a year salary. Hell
Right.
no.
No.
But when you break it down by area, so like you can type in Google Freddie Mac income limits, Fannie Mae income limits for their products, and it'll tell you the average medium income for whatever zip code you want to put in. And it'll tell you exactly what the average medium income is for that. Here in St. Louis, it's 100,000 is the average medium income in St. Louis. And even so if you're looking at in the average sales price,
Is that per couple or is it per
it doesn't
household?
it doesn't it just it says average medium income. It didn't say per house or per person or what. I think it might be household,
That makes more sense
but
to me.
but even still, you're looking at it as a household income. That and the last time the numbers came out, we were at like what 295 for the average sales price in St. Louis.
I think so. It was high. I thought it was like 278, but I might be wrong.
Okay.
Actually, that might be right.
So
I'm thinking 278. That was, I think, at the beginning of this year, at the end of 22. So,
gotcha.
yeah, I think that would make sense if it's only gone up.
Right.
So.
And so if we're at 295 and your average household income is 100,000, then here you are, like as long as you've got that could take your income up 50% of qualifying income and your debts. Most average households can afford the average sales price here.
Right.
And if you're making more than that, then definitely going to be able to afford it. So St. Louis is still affordable based on looking at the averages. Obviously, we're not applying the averages elsewhere, but as a single person, 56,000, you're not going to try and buy a $450,000 house
No
anyway.
way.
Sorry, I didn't.
Go ahead.
Kind of a case study to your point, though, is actually a relationship I was just in, because you actually sold me my house, Zach, and so my house was about 160,000 here in St. Louis. As far as cost of living, St. Louis, as of end of 2022, is 14% below the national average. Well, I was dating someone who was local and native to Southern California, and she said, "You know what your house would cost in my neighborhood?" She lived in Orange County. Like what? She goes, 800 grand. That's cheap. And my that's what, 100 grand per square foot. No. It's a
1,000.
1,000 grand per square foot.
1,000
House,
grand.
100.
Yeah,
It's insane.
that's insane.
That's 3 times my mortgage.
Why do you think all these investors from the coast are buying
yeah.
shit up here in St. Louis?
You know how many? The one that
yeah.
closed yesterday was
Yeah.
he was an out of town investor. I think we've bought. He's done 6. I think he's done 7 with me over the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he just keeps buying them up.
Oh,
He just buys these,
right.
little, usually 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and the rentals for him.
Yeah, when I talked to him, he was like, hey, this is what's paying for my kids' college.
Yeah, love it.
And
Great.
he's got the funds and the income and the money to do it. And there's loans out there that make it easier for people to the SCR loans, those debt service credit release loans, where we're basically, as long as the rent going to be generated or the standard
Income.
rent for that area meets what's going to be rented here and it covers the mortgage payment, then you qualify.
Right.
I mean, you need 20% down to do these things, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great program. It's a great way to do things. And yeah, it's just people are coming in and just mopping up these homes in St. Louis because it's so affordable,
right.
and they can still rent it for more. I had a buddy that I did a loan for in Waterloo, brand new construction now, disabled vet. in Illinois, you have to pay taxes if you're above a certain percentage. So, taxes were, but like the taxes on this house were, it was like a $400,000 house, and the taxes were going to be like 10 grand. I'm like,
Insane, dude.
yeah, and it's one of those things. There's trade offs to every state.
Well, I just say let's hit one more and then
Okay.
wrap it up.
All right. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give yourself?
I think it's pretty much what I did about 2 months later. Is I would say I would have invested more into my social media probably sooner. I think that from the return that I've seen on that,
Yeah.
just going all in on that has helped me exponentially. So I think I would do that. From the beginning of my career, man, I would say I would tell myself that I think I had a hard time with the rejection at first. And it was kind of one of the first things you said when we first started recording is just being okay with that rejection.
Yeah.
I think that I just wasn't used to everybody slamming the door in my face, literally and figuratively.
Right.
But that I would just kind of get used to that more or be more like now rejection doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
But 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, it was definitely something that I wasn't as okay with.
Right.
But so figuring out a way to deal with that, I think that like I do now, and I think it just comes from the reps.
Right.
The more you do it, the more it doesn't really seem to matter.
Right.
So I would say that those are my.
Yeah.
What about you?
Same thing. Social media for this year. That was one of the things that I really
Yeah, you did.
wanted to step
you
up on.
Leveled up for sure.
And it's been great. Not so much like basically I went into it with not with the intention of getting business out of it. I went in with the intention of basically building a brand as someone that knows what the fuck they're talking about. Like basically like they know, and it's funny now, people like, oh, hey, my buddies will call me STL Mortgage. And
Right. Oh yeah. My buddies give me shit all the time.
Yeah. And so I'm like, whatever, I don't give a shit. Hey, it's working, right?
It's working.
You're
for
calling
sure.
me STL Mortgage Nerd. That's what I
Yeah,
want
it's
you
working.
to.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing is it just lends credibility to who I am, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to use social as a way that if someone saw my content and they were like trying to decide on who they wanted to work with, like, all right, this guy knows what the fuck he's talking about and seems to be doing well with the amount of closings he's having and things like that. Like just using social media as a tool to just build that brand and reassure people that I know what I'm doing. So that was telling myself that from the beginning of the year, like making that more a priority. And then
I think people are so self-conscious about that.
It's crazy.
At least I know I was when I first got started. Like
Right.
I remember I went back and actually showed, I'm bringing my new guy onto the team, and I went back and I showed him my because I'm telling him like, you don't have to, do all the social media and stuff that I do, but if I were you, I think it's a great idea. I think it'll kind of give you a head start, and it's a great way to market. And I like went back, I was like, you see all my videos now, right? And we obviously he follows me. I scrolled back to my very first video.
Yeah.
That was like right when I got my license. It was actually
take a pause so we can put it into the podcast so Murph can bring it up.
Yeah. Throw it up. You should. I'll send you the one, and if you can throw it in like the corner. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna roast the fuck out of you.
Oh, please do. Oh, you know how many you-knows are in that one?
I'm writing that as a tally.
Yeah. No, that one doesn't count.
It does.
Take a shot.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what, dude? If you haven't gone to the casino and gambled everything away by now, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But going back to like from the beginning is, having an abundance mentality. Obviously being competitive, you hate losing deals. You hate, sometimes it doesn't work. You don't win every deal. It happens. But in the beginning, I get so frustrated because being new and you don't have a lot of deals, you get frustrated with that. And you start like having this mentality, like mine, like that nothing's ever going to come. And so you have a scarcity mentality. One of the biggest things that I've been changing is that having that abundance mentality. I mean, you came to that happy hour that I hosted.
Yeah.
There was other mortgage lenders there. Like I didn't care. Like that's the thing is like, one, have those conversations with them, see what's working for them, what's not. I might learn something from them that I can implement. Heck, they might learn something from me that they can implement. They might have products that I don't have that I can refer them to. I may have products that they have that they don't, and that they can refer me to. Like, or hell, they might not like where they're at. Come be on my team. or
Right.
vice versa. You just never know. And then also by that, you're not like your mindset changes on how you approach things. Like, I'm not afraid to lose deals. I'm not afraid. Like, I know that I've grown my business enough that I've got enough coming in that if I lose a deal, like, I'm not gonna like let that affect me like I used to.
Mhm.
And it used to just tear me up and beat me up. Like, nothing we can, and it was the most important thing that I could have had this year, because that's what happened. In last year, business dropped drastically last year and this year. And obviously, but by maintaining that abundance mentality, I was still able to grow my business, and because I was doing things from a place of a positive mindset versus a negative mindset. And that just, I mean, it radiates through to your clients. Your clients can see that. Like, if you're running on a negative mentality and a scarcity mentality, they're going to pick up on that and probably feel pressured from you.
Yeah. Call
Where
that commission breath.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you're coming from a place like, hey, if I get this deal or not, okay, cool. Things are gonna be more relaxed. You're gonna have better conversations. You're actually gonna listen to what it is that they're wanting, their goals and needs are, and being able to listen to understand and not listen to reply. And
Right.
and it's really helped in ways that allow me to better structure deals for clients to meet those goals that they're wanting, and not be worried about whether or not, like, this is like, whether or not they're going to like it or not. Like, well, if they don't like it, cool. Let's go back to the drawing board. Or if they talk to somebody else, like, learning how to, again, effective communication, like I mentioned earlier, how to communicate the difference between myself and that other person they're talking to, and difference between my company, a guild, and another mortgage company, and the way my team is structured versus someone else, like what they're getting for that, because not everybody's going to have the same rates or costs or anything like that. Like, someone may have lower rates but higher costs. Someone may have a slightly higher rate but lower costs. There's different ways that loan mortgage companies are set up and structured. So, it's making sure people, and educating them and telling them the things that they need to hear. And if that causes me to lose a client because I tell them what they need to hear to get into a house, then I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
Because I know that eventually it's gonna come back around.
I think
And
that's a big gem you unveiled in the front half of the conversation, was that the way you look at quote unquote cold outreach is you don't do it like someone who's trying to headhunt and get
No.
money. You do it as a customer service rep
Right.
looking to improve the experience. And that does a lot for your confidence, because then you aren't someone who quote needs something. You just have something to offer, and whatever comes your way, just icing on top of a good job well done.
Right. And that's the thing too, is like talking about the cold call stuff, is like, there's agents out there that I will never get a deal with, but because I've called them and talked to them and they know who I am, and we've done deals where they're the listing side,
Mhm.
like, my offers are going to have a chance at standing out more
For sure.
because of those calls.
Right.
And they know who I am, and they like,
Like, oh, I know this guy, and
yeah,
he
like,
closes.
he gets it done. Like, I'm not worried if you've got a pre-approval with my or my team's name on it, it's gonna close.
Right.
And so that lends to it. And like I said, banks and credit unions, they're gonna beat us on rates every time. It's part of it. It's what
Right.
it is. But as an agent, when you see
Yeah.
a mortgage company, like, you could have the same person offer with get the same offer from two different people. One's with a credit union or a bank, and one's with a mortgage company. Odds are you're going to push them.
Mortgage company every time.
Right.
I've had so many issues with like big national banks and credit unions specifically. Yeah, they're trash. Well, I mean, they're good for what they're good. They're good for certain things, but
Right.
specifically mortgages or home loans, go mortgage company every time.
Customer
Right.
service.
100%. Well, I always tell people, it is, you're really buying a customer. You're buying a customer service,
Right.
because with you or another mortgage company, for instance, they're able to call you really whenever you want. I
Right.
mean, I always say, the guys that I'm going to send you, they work the same hours as me, which is basically 24/7.
Right.
So if you call Pat, we just looked at a house on a Saturday afternoon at 5:00. I always tell the story that I sent him someone who was about to get pre-approved or wanted to get pre-approved, and he was about to officiate a wedding in California, and he somehow got this person a pre-approval letter so he could write an offer. And like, he's like, man, I'm about to oh, we're walking down the aisle in an hour, but I think I can get it over to you. Just hang tight. And I'm like, fuck, dude. I was like, if this
That's
isn't
dedication.
yeah, I know,
That's some
100%, dude. And I always tell that story. I was like, and another thing, I was like, well, me and my wife just bought a house this past year, and I mean, I do this for a fucking living, so, and I use Pat, so if that says anything,
Yeah.
that's
And the thing about it too is like you're always on call, and yeah, that's fun. By the way, AKA Pastor Pat, I am
Pastor
ordained.
Pat.
So anybody that needs to get married, let me know. Right now,
Yeah.
I'm successful 7 for 7 of
Yeah.
marriages that are still married.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. You should be at like 3.5 or 4, all things considered. But
Yeah.
that's good
No.
shit.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
No, I got
Why
that.
is the thing in your
I got
Instagram
that.
bio?
I got that good luck touch.
Yeah.
Here's what's cool about it. It's all past clients.
Oh, that's
what's
really cool.
That's what's cool about it. It's all
Vertical integration.
all-
Yeah.
well, but that's the thing though. It's like, all right, so I got ordained. It started off with one of my really good friends. So one of my good friends married my ex-wife's really good friend, and then our other buddy was we're all in the mix. So she asked my ex-wife to be the maid of honor. He asked the other guy to be the best man, and he's like, we want you to officiate the wedding. And I'm like, hell yeah. So do you know when I got ordained? While my ex-wife was in labor with our second born, I'm in the hospital.
Just killing time.
Yeah, she's induced. Like we're waiting for the baby to come, and for people that haven't had kids, it's a long process of just sitting around.
Yeah, you don't just show up and the baby's delivered.
Right.
That's
I'm sure there's some situations, but for my ex-wife and I, for both kids, my ex-wife was not a fan of being pregnant, and she wanted both of these babies out as soon as she could, which you could get induced at 39 weeks. And so we went in, and which is great. I recommend this to people. If you can get induced, we took our time. We showed up. We walked in. We weren't rushing or freaking out or
It's
scrambling
like
around.
TSA pre-check with babies.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And so we walked right in, got settled. They got her all set up and hooked up. There was no urgency or rush to it. And we were just really calm and relaxed, which was great. The first time that the hospital that she delivered, so ex-wife, all she wanted was tequila after the baby was born. So those 3 people that I just mentioned, my wife's ex-wife's best friend, my good buddy, and my 2 good buddies, all came up to the hospital the night before. This was pre-COVID, so people could come and hang out. We had our own room, and so to kill time, we're playing games, talking all this, and my buddy whipped out a bottle of tequila that he brought for my ex-wife.
Melissa.
Well, we learned that they had a slushy machine on that same floor, so we're sneaking out, taking slushies and making our own
Making
margaritas in the
Hell yeah.
hospital.
That's awesome.
Best blueberry margarita
Oh, I'm
I've
sure.
ever had.
I bet.
But yeah, so
Tell that story of how you were born.
yeah, so exactly.
So this one night, I had a blueberry margarita while I got ordained as a minister.
Well,
and then
yeah.
so no, that was my first one, but the second one, we didn't have anybody in the room. We did the inducement, but like I was saying, for the people that don't know, it's not. I mean, it's a long process. Like you may go in, and your water may break, but it may be hours before the baby comes, and it's a lot of sitting around. I mean.
Yeah, we brought the
Melissa-
Apple TV and we just
Melissa was working, writing contracts.
Really?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
The first Connor, like
love that.
Connor, when she was done, then she got somebody under contract while she was in labor at the hospital for Connor. Now they told us to get there at midnight, and Connor wasn't born until 7:00 at night that day. So we were there for, 19 hours before Connor was born. And so that's a lot of sitting around.
For sure.
And then with Oliver, they're like, oh, yeah, just come in around 10:00. So we went in at 10 a.m. and Oliver was also born around 7:00 at night. And so, but again, that's a lot of sitting around, a lot of, and she's working and I'm just sitting off to the side in a recliner going through
hanging out.
just going through the process of getting ordained. And then we're just going back and forth. And I'm like, here are my options for names. Like I can do pastor, reverend, all these different things. Like
Pastor Pat.
I'm like, I was like Reverend Doyle, and they're like, what else you got? And I was like, Pastor Pat, and the nurse who we're still friends with today, she's awesome. She was like, yes, Pastor Pat, and Melissa was like, are you really fucking doing this right now? Like, really? Like, as you see, like this, and I finished it like as things really started to pick up. Like,
right.
it was maybe an hour later that Oliver was born after I was. And so she's like in pain. The nurses are there. I'm standing off to the side.
Contraction.
And-
Ah!
Yeah, and me and the nurses are just going back and forth. Like, really? Like, that doesn't sound too creepy, like Pastor Pat. Like, no, that's fucking awesome. So yeah. So that's how I got ordained.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well,
Well.
I think that's a good spot to end it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that really wraps up the year for us. So
Yeah.
we got 3 episodes in before the end of the
How
year.
about that?
I'm happy
I'm
with it.
pumped
So
about it.
yeah, we're gonna keep going with this. We're gonna be doing 2 a week as our game plan. So comment down below people that maybe we should have on, or comment what you want to hear us talk about, or
If there's anything specific you want to hear, yes, we're both in real estate, but we don't want this to be just about real estate. I know we dove into it a lot today, but that was more because we were discussing goal planning, and that's the thing that we wanted to really hit on is entrepreneurship, the mentality it takes to be successful within business, but also being a man and being a father and different things like that. And so if you have anything that you want us to talk, or Zach likes jujitsu, I'm big into baseball. You want to hear funny stories
like
from either one of
sports.
us?
Yeah.
Sports in general. If you want to hear funny stories,
sure we've
or
got
anything
lots
like
of
that.
funny college
Oh,
stories that we'll get into.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's one you've told me that I definitely want you to tell on the podcast at some point. That just popped into my head.
Okay,
But,
I'd be happy to discuss any of the crazy things that have happened in college and in pro ball, and same thing. I'm sure there's just anything. Let us know what you guys want to hear and talk about, and we'll dive into that. But as always, we appreciate you guys listening. If you could like, share, pass this on, subscribe. Anything we want to can reach as many people as we possibly can.
Well, and we're signing off. We'll see you in 2024.
Yep. See you in 2024.